Um, avoid legal snags by telling people they're being recorded. You're being recorded.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. What do we have next? I'm dreaming of my trip, and it's not a progress
Uh,
report, but there's a favorite YMCA. My friend that I'm going to be staying in Rhode Island is right on a bike path, and if I ride my bicycle about 30 minutes, a bicycle I got specifically because she moved to the bike path.
uh-huh.
um, anyways, if it's about a 30-minute ride, the YMCA, my favorite YMCA, on the bike path, so it's beautiful. It's a beautiful ride.
You're breaking up just a little bit somehow.
Because of the
You're
report.
missing a word here and there.
Oh dear. I want to ride my bicycle in Rhode Island.
Good.
So, I want, I'll be talking to you then too. Hopefully every Sunday there. I'll have this laptop with me. But, yeah, 30 minutes twice a day is going to be a challenge. So I figure I wanted your ideas, and I figured I'll bring a library book and stop after 15 to 20 minutes and read my library book for a while, and then and then after I work out at the Y, I'll read my library book for a while, and then I'll ride 15 or 20 minutes and stop and rest. I don't know. To work out to it, something like that. I don't even know if my knee can handle. I mean, certainly the seat would have to be adjusted so that I'm not fully extending, obviously, because that's what we can't do. But your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. You want to have that seat height adjusted correctly. Yeah, ideally for the seat height, you want when you have your leg fully down in the most down position, in the cycle. The knee still needs to be bent a little bit, and that's always the way that you adjust it.
That's normal.
That's normal. We want to have
Not just for my knee.
Yeah, you want to have it fairly extended, but you don't want to have it completely, extended.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's always the way you adjust it. And
Is my idea about working up to it a good idea?
yeah, probably so. I would say when you're doing your ride, don't do like do a there and back kind of ride, right? Rather than choosing a route that's like circumferential, like you're doing a loop. So that you can change your mind and turn back, right? So
Well,
don't do loops. So just go there and back.
Yeah, that's the way it is. I mean,
good.
It's a half an hour ride to the Y, and then I have to turn around and come back.
Yeah.
And there's a store that a grocery store. I might, bring a basket and buy a couple things. That's right next to the Y, also along the bike path. So anyway, I just figure I need to probably plan in plenty of rest. Just spend the whole day doing it.
Yeah. Just I think it's a good idea because to promote healing, you also have to stress the tissue, right? You can't just immobilize it all the time, so you have to put some amount of stress into the tissue if it's going to heal.
Beyond standing and walking, or the standing and walking's been okay, but this is going to take me to a new level if I do that, I think.
So when you're writing, when you are writing, make sure that your hips aren't splaying out.
You mean my knees?
Your knees, you don't want you don't want your knees to splay out. You want them to be straightforward. You want to have your feet, you know,
Okay.
like this rather than, rather than like that. You know, you want to have them fairly straightforward.
Right.
So you want to have the forces running through your legs, parallel to the action. Yeah, you don't want to have. Yeah, you don't want to have your knees splayed out because then you're going to be, doing all kinds of weird rotational forces through your legs and your hips and your ankles and your feet. So you want to line it all up.
Okay.
Think about it when, it's a hamstring, it seems, that's painful. I don't know if it's necessarily injured, but the hamstring is painful. And if you're going to run forces through that hamstring, you don't want to run forces that are not parallel with the force, right? You want to have it in line with the force that would normally be running through that tissue. If you start to splay the knees out, then you're going to have strange forces running through your hamstrings. There might be shearing forces or rotational forces, and your body's going to try to adapt to that and maybe make the injury worse. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you want to have that motion pretty straightforward.
Okay.
It could actually be really good for you. Do you have like toe clips or anything like that for your bicycle? You don't have to buy anything like that. They're expensive. I was just thinking maybe you already had something like that.
No.
On mountain bikes, they used to have toe clips that the shoe, you didn't have to have like a special shoe that clicks into the pedal. They actually had like a little cage that would sort of wrap around your foot, right? At least the toe of your foot and the first part of your foot, and then you could just, pedal that way. But you're going to be basically on a regular bicycle with a flat pedal, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to concentrate on keeping those toes facing forwards and keep your heels from turning in or out.
Yeah, as you know, my knees love to turn out.
Yeah, so you want to work on that while you're riding the bicycle, and be conscious of that.
Okay.
Think about it as, how am I running forces through my legs? Yeah. And then you start to come out, and then you're running all kinds of incongruent, right, forces through your legs that could be injuring, the knee or the hamstring or whatever, or the joint.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I won't have too many opportunities to get to the why before I leave, but I might try a stationary bicycle just to look at my form.
Mm-hmm.
Start to get the neurology. It's
yeah.
like, this is what we're going to do consciously.
You're going to be introducing, better, more functional movement patterns. And you're going to be overriding, or giving preference to these new, you're going to be giving preference to these new movement patterns. You're going to be trying to overwrite or sublimate the older movement patterns that are dysfunctional. So you're trying to replace the old stuff with the new stuff. Apparently, you never get rid of the old bad, patterns, but you can overwrite that, and give it precedence and make that the dominant new movement pattern over time. But it takes.
And the more you do it, the more the fascia will align in that direction.
Yeah. But the movement pattern and the fascial alignment are not the same thing, right? the movement pattern is determined by how it's wired in your brain.
And the fascia is just responding.
And the fascia is responding and building and structuring itself to that movement pattern that's being initiated in your brain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that important?
So that you don't go on autopilot, I guess.
So just to stay mindful, basically.
Yeah, just think that it's that by changing the fascia, it's not like putting a knee brace on. Right? Knee brace is going to make that knee work the same way over and over and over again. But changing the fascia isn't going to put that rigid of a restraint on the knee joint, right?
Okay.
You have to program the pattern itself.
Right.
Yeah. So it's always about repatterning movement. And repatterning the movement changes the fascial structure.
Depending on how the stresses how we put stress on our physical, on our bones and muscles and fascia, myofascia.
Mm-hmm.
According to how we use it, our body, then it grows into that. It adapts to that, right?
It adapts to that, yeah. But you have to change the pattern to change the fascia.
Neurologically,
yeah. Or from here, from the brainstem, yeah.
And I'm okay. From the brainstem, should we talk about that?
Apparently, remember we were talking about Dean Juan, this amazing guy. Amazing.
That was the website we were looking at?
That was the website we were looking at. Yeah.
Dean Juhan. Okay.
Yeah, according to him, many years ago, and I still accept this as established fact, but he says that movement patterns are developed holistically in the brainstem. And so it's modeled inside of our brainstem. And so that's what actually controls all of your movement patterns, the habituated patterns that we have for our movement in the brainstem. And it's like a holograph. And so one example that he gave of this that I remember to this day is that imagine you just have a pencil in your hand and you're writing your signature on a piece of paper. And then you get up from your desk, you walk to the chalkboard, pick up a piece of chalk, and then you write your name on chalkboard. And it's recognizably the same signature, right? But you used entirely different muscles to produce that signature. And so the reason, when he says holographically, you can reproduce the same outcome using entirely different parts of your body to do it. And so in working out the movement pattern to produce that thing, you can it's encoded in such a way that it can be you could with practice maybe you could write with your foot. You know what I mean? So it's
people
like,
without hands do.
Yeah. And so these movement patterns that we use to produce actions or products can be done using different muscle groups and different fascial groups. It's just how it's encoded in your brain, and then you can just choose which body part you're going to use to produce that end product, to a certain extent. Sorry. I probably wouldn't want to write my name on the wall with my knee, but but you could probably do it. You know,
Right.
you could see a signature that was pretty much, you know, pretty close to what you would produce with your hand and your fingers.
Huh. Interesting. Using your hips.
Yeah, using your hips, but it's all encoded in the brainstem apparently, holographically.
So the last thing you said is giving me the impression that, like, the visualization of your signature or your
Mm-hmm.
intent to create your signature could be reproduced using different sets of muscles in your body.
Yeah. And if you wanted to, say, produce the correct movement pattern for your knee when you're bicycling, you could close your eyes and imagine that your hands are your knees, and you could just do a movement like that and think about, you know, just keeping those
Well, I
wrists
shouldn't have them
straight.
together. I should have them aligned with
You should have them a lot, yeah.
my
Right.
shoulders,
And then just kind of do
opposed to
that
the
movement.
hips.
And imagine you're doing that with your hips, but that your hands are your feet, you know, and so you're keeping your fingers forward rather than doing it this way.
With my little outrigger canoe. You know, that's one of the things that I love the most about what's changed in my standing is the outrigger canoe little toe.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's
I love that.
cool.
I love the way it feels to spread my toes out when I'm standing.
Yeah. Perfect. You know, and that's an exercise that's used in yoga practice is, you know, spread your toes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we have to free up the fascia and the bones and the joint capsules and everything in the feet. We have to, you know, they're being all compacted together in our shoes. So you have to spread all that back out again to make them functional. But anyway, like I was saying, you can repattern different body parts. You can be like closing your eyes and producing this motion with your hands, and then imagining that it's actually your feet,
Ow.
right?
So I can
And
practice at any time.
you could, yeah, you could,
Every day, even
yeah.
if I don't have a bicycle.
hmm And you could just lie down on your back and do the bicycling motion,
Well, I do.
which you do, right? But then while you're doing that, you know, just imagine you're riding your bicycle. And think about how you want your knees to go and how your hips are moving and how your feet are, how all of these different joints are oriented when you're doing that motion. You know, think about that while you're lying on your back and doing your football practice. And it will probably help with the motion of all of those joints when you're sitting on the bicycle. You will be repatterning that movement pattern, and then you just take it from the floor and you bring it on your bicycle and you ride down to the Y and back. Yeah,
Maybe it'll be easier than I think.
our bodies are really cool. We can do all kinds of things to reinforce healthy movement patterns.
Interesting.
You know, and so lying on the floor and doing the bicycle motion is a functional exercise, right? Because you're reproducing the same motion that you would be like riding a bicycle. And so that movement pattern that you're doing is a functional movement pattern. It's a functional exercise, rather than going to the Y and doing exercises for your quads and your hamstrings on a machine, right? Because then you're just doing that exercise to individual muscles or individual muscle groups.
Isolating.
You're isolating it, and that's not functional. Yeah. So the functional training doesn't have to be exactly the same as, you know, it doesn't have, you know, in order to get stronger bicycling or to get your your joints lined up while you're doing the motion. You don't have to do it on a bicycle, right? You can do that motion pattern off the bicycle, and still your brain's going to be going, oh, this is bicycling. So it's a functional training, and it's a functional way of movement training.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Isn't that cool stuff? Yeah. I mean, not all of this is new, but the idea that it's fascia also that you're training is kind of new, right? You look around now, and I'm looking on different places. Like you showed me that image of the two women with I don't know, maybe it was nylon or latex or something around their bodies, right? Stretchy stuff.
Yeah.
I started thinking, well, are there other images out there like that? And I just went to like iStock Photo or something, right?
We were both looking for those. That's great.
And I was looking through those, and I was looking at and I was just searching on myofascia or fascial or that sort of myofascial. And 5 years ago, you wouldn't find anything. It wouldn't even come up. And now there's tons of images for these different terms. So it's changed in a short period of time. It's getting out there. It's getting into the zeitgeist now. People are like saying, well, we're doing fascial training, or we're doing, right? And it's starting to become a thing. It's starting to become part of the consciousness out there. People will go, oh, fascia, yeah, I know about fascia now. 5 years ago, like, well, isn't that the stuff that you put on the side of your house? Right? That's the stuff that you put around your chimney to seal it off. That's the fascia. But now people are starting to know what it is. Anyway, so that was a pretty good little segue off into this thing.
Now, I could stop the recording and make a smaller file and restart it.
Yeah.